change and challenge, operational improvement is a fundamental requirement and continuous effort. In 1991, Progressive Insurances, an automobile insurer based in Mayfield Village, Ohio, had approximately 1.3 billion in sales. By 2002, that figure had grown to 9.5 billion dollars. So what strategies did Progressive employ to achieve sevenfold growth in just over 10 years? Was automobile insurance positioned in a high growth industry? No. Did it diversify into new businesses? No. Did it go global? Again, no. So Progressive operates only in the United States. So what was the secret sauce? So the secret sauce of Progressive's success was maddeningly simple. It out-operated its competitors. By offering lower prices and better services than its rivals, it simply took their customers away. And that enabled Progressive to have better prices and services was operational improvements and innovation in that sector, the invention and deployment of new ways of doing work. So here we are on a bright day with LaToken VCTV. My name is Amit Das, listings manager with LaToken. We have an interesting topic today on operational improvements, where we'll talk about various ways to improve operations in any organizations and what benefits do organizations reap and how blockchain as a technology can be used as a leverage to improve operational efficiency. But before we jump right into the discussion, let's meet our panel members of today. We have Gary Fowler from United States. Hi, Gary. A little short introduction and a background about you.
Yeah, sure. No problem, Amit. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 startups. I've been involved in two unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion about 20 months ago. And I'm also the co-founder of Viva.ai, a billion-dollar HR tech company, AI HR tech company. I love artificial intelligence. I've written tons of articles, about 100 and over 110 articles in the last year on AI. Um, I've been involved in startups and investing for over 30 years and just love artificial intelligence and now quantum computing because we have data all around us. We're inundated with data. In fact, the term infobesity. So we need to synthesize that data, understand the data, and develop intelligent, not smart assistants to be able to help us. So that's a little about me. I grew up, I'm a farm boy. I believe, simple things. So I could say, keep it simple, stupid. So if it's white and black and has horns, it's a cow. So when we grew up in the farm on the side of a mountain, it was simple. And that's really how we run our businesses. Keep it simple.
Great, Gary. Also, we have Mo joined us with today. Welcome to the show, Mo. A short introduction about you and a little background, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me on the show. Like always, it's a great honor. My name is Moulouku. I work in private equity for the Jepson Group, and I'm the managing partner of Mansa Capital, which is a global investment advisory firm focused on helping African startups with their strategy and with their capital raising as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Mo. So before we deep dive into today's session, I want to give a short message to all the startups. So if you are a startup, then face the investors. This is the fastest way to get a complete list of objections to reach your vision. All right, then, let's begin. Let's start with the opening remarks. Gary, let's start with you. Opening
Sure.
remark.
Yeah, so I mean, our world, as I've said before, Meet, our world is dramatically shifted. We're in a situation in the state of infobesity around us. So the bottom line is, imagine the amount of data that each one of us has to face every day. In fact, within our own personal cloud, there are about 300,000 items. Well, the entire World Wide Web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. That amount of information doubles every year. In 5 years, we'll be in a state of infobesity. By that, I mean, each one of us will have about 10 million items. Think about it every single day, how we are inundated with information. How many times do you say to yourself, I know that file exists, but I can't find it? Why? I've either forgotten the location or forgotten the keywords. Today, there are about 40 zettabytes of data on the planet Earth. So if we took CDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go back and forth to the moon 29 times. And that number grows 62% a year. So all around us is data, data, data. So each one of us has to make sure that we have that data secured, that it's much more efficient, and that we have security. So that's where blockchain comes in. So the starting point is the data around us. Now, the other part of the starting point with the data is we need to be able to curate to understand that data better. We can't do it on our own. Our mind's capable of processing about 60,000 complex transactions per day. But with the amount of data from the Internet of Things, self-driving cars, everything, refrigerators that soon will be talking, we need to have these intelligent assistants, AI, machine learning, to be able to help us. That's where the world is coming in. And I'm excited about it because it's literally across the board. So if we look at things like smart contracts, we need to increase our efficiencies. We need to increase the security. But then there is a wild card. And the wild card, in fact, I've got a new article, actually several articles coming out, but on quantum computing and things like the quantum internet, because that's going to change everything. The one thing about the blockchain is it is more secure, but when you start adding those type of technologies to it, it becomes highly, highly unstable. So we need to look at things like cybersecurity for the future and how to be able to have decentralized cybersecurity. And so that's really where I'm exploring the future right now. And those are some of the investments. In fact, I have a conversation today about it with a potential startup.
Great, Gary. That was an interesting opening remark regarding intelligent automation tools that needs to be assisted with us to process the complex set of information that we have today. Great. So let's move on to Moulouku, and let's hear from him. What are his opening remarks?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Gary just said. Gary gave a very comprehensive overview of where we currently are in the world and where we're going. And yes, I think with the amount of data that we are processing daily, it's important that we have efficient blockchain systems that can efficiently help us synthesize that data, help us enrich that data, and help us get the best possible data as well. And what I'm also looking forward to, especially, is the ability of blockchain to improve operational practices and streamline processes and make those processes faster and make those processes more efficient, not only from a data gathering perspective, right? But then also from the perspective of other things such as remittance, from the perspective of things such as sending and receiving data as well.
Nice, Mo. Thank you. So let's move on with our first question. That is, at what stage should the company really focus on operational improvements? Is it a startup? Should the startup focus on this, or a big organization when it tries to go global? It should start focusing on operational improvements. Let's hear it from Gary first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, let's look at some of the challenges that we have today. And, here we are in this pandemic. And if we're in San Francisco, California, or Los Angeles today, you can't even get a roll of toilet paper. And so, talk about here we are, we're talking about going to Mars, and you can't get a simple thing like toilet paper. So, think about our supply chain is broken. So, when we talk about operational efficiencies, let's start at square one. And when we look at so if we're looking at startups, we're looking at later stage companies, et cetera. I mean, it all started, keep it simple, stupid. It's back to basics, right? And so what we have to do is we have to start from square one. I know a few years ago when I was on the original management team at Click Software, we used optimization algorithms for service. So it's really as we get data around it, more and more data, we need to have transparency and we need to be able to react in a moment's notice. At the same time, we need to have that security. So it's continual process improvement, continual optimization of whatever, whether it's manufacturing, a supply chain, or med tech, et cetera. We need, we call it the principle of threes. So we need to have the security, we need to have the optimization, and we really need to have the insight into what's happening at any one point in time. And that's, fundamentals of where the society needs to change, where manufacturing needs to change, where processes need to improve. Why? Well, I mean, think about it. If I have an organization today around the world, HR, right? I've got 20,000 employees. How do I know as a CEO of a company, how do I know what's happening within those processes, within the HR of those particular employees? How can I understand whether or not they're getting the right kind of agreements in place, whether or not they're happy? So we need to, across the board, have more insight into the processes. And that's where it becomes incredibly interesting. So imagine being able to have things like dashboards right in front of you, understanding what's happening with that particular employee or that particular process in a safe and secure way. That's where blockchain becomes very, very interesting.
All right, great. Molu, so your thoughts on these questions of what stage should the company really focus on operational improvements? Is it from the startup or whether a global corporation should start focusing on this?
I think that operational efficiency should be the number one priority for any company, for big companies and for small companies. I think the faster, and so I think the faster that companies aim to have the best operational procedures and processes, the easier it would be to achieve quarterly results, and the easier it would be to achieve goals as well, right? So I think operational efficiency is key in going from a small startup, right, that only has 1 to 2 people, to a global multinational organization that has offices and people all over the world, right? So I think operational efficiency is key for any company, no matter its size.
Nice. So Molu says that operational efficiency is very important. May it be a startup or may it be a global organization, it should always be present, because that is how we get things done in an efficient manner. And efficient manner, doing things in an efficient manner always saves us a lot of cost, and it keeps ahead of the competition. So thank you.
Exactly.
So let's understand what are the different strategies to improve the operational efficiency in an organization. Let's start from Gary. Gary, can you please explain to me what can be the different strategies here to improve the operational efficiency? May it be a startup or maybe may it be a big organization?
Yeah, so I mean, let's look at it. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, McKinsey came out with a study that said 92% of the companies over the next 10 years were going to go through the digital transformation. 10 years. But Amit, what's happened is we've had to dramatically accelerate that digital transformation. So it's no longer a choice for business. It's really essential to survival. And really, due to the increased strain that COVID-19 has put on day to day business, there's a dire need for corporations to accelerate their digital transformation. It's no longer just an option. They need to be able to process and emerge stronger than before. So, blockchain technology is very likely to be the most transformative and dramatic change across the board to help business to be able to function better. So if we're looking at today, many of those industries are deeply looking at blockchain as a helpful tool to be able to become more digital. So, and then you look at um, across the board in terms of the kind of growth that's out there today. I mean, it's exploding. So think about it. Originally forecast, the global blockchain market was expected to span from US of about $3 billion in 2020 to almost $40 billion by 2025. So growing at about, I don't know, what is that, 67, 68% during that period of time. So this is growing, expanding. And at the same time, we understand that security is a big issue. I mean, let's look at things like banks, right? Banks have been put their head upside down. It used to be you walk into a bank and they didn't really do that much, as much digital banking. Typical bank relationships, I know myself, going out to get a loan, you walk into the bank, you'd fill out the paperwork, but that's really changed with the pandemic. In fact, in many parts of the US, many parts of Europe today, you can't even walk into the bank. It's not the same that it was before. So these are really transformational changes that are taking place. And I'm excited because as bad as the pandemic has been, the opportunity to be able to go through this transformation and to be able to enable blockchain in a decentralized way is incredible, because it's really a missing point for the enterprise blockchain offerings. It's incredible. Things like DeFi, to be able to successfully process small contracts for financial institutions, is just an amazing quantum leap forward. So I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah, Mo. So, what are your thoughts on this regarding different strategies for increasing the operational efficiency? What kind of strategies can you, as an investor, point out for startups or maybe for big organizations?
So I think the best strategies for improving operational efficiencies is number one, as Gary rightly pointed out, every business right now is a digital business, right? And this pandemic has accelerated the shift from physical interactions to digital interactions. Like for example, right now we're having this panel over Zoom, right? But while last year we would have it in person, or like we would have it over the phone, right? So everything has become a digital business, and as Andreessen Horowitz said it best, software eats the world, right? So I think it's number one about number one, having the best digital practices, and Gary rightly pointed out that blockchain is set to dramatically change the way businesses work, and I think it's blockchain together with AI that are going to dramatically change the way that businesses work and dramatically change the way that businesses operate as well. Furthermore, a key point that I think that is very important as well is the implementation of key softwares that will make your processes more efficient. Because right now we live in a world where everything is being put like in a software. Like you don't need to do all your accounts by yourself as well. Like we have software tools for that. You don't need, and Gary has his own AI HR company, right? Like you can use Gary's HR company to like implement the best HR practices and the best HR procedures as well, right? So I think it's number one, always staying ahead of the digital curve, always having the best possible tools disposable, always having the best possible tools available for yourself. And number three, as well, is always remaining agile and always remaining nimble and always remaining adaptive to change. So I think these are the key strategies that companies, both big and small, can utilize to be the best operational efficiency.
Nicely summed up, Mo. So you summed up to use different software and latest practices to actually improve and stay ahead of the competition of operational efficiency. That is really great thoughts. So let's next move on.
Mead, I want to say one other thing. I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at Gardner Group, so Gardner Group lists, if you look at the top 10 initiatives for 2021, blockchain is listed as one of the top initiatives. But again, remember, there's two pieces where we really see areas of blockchain are critically important, and they are in trust and transparency. And what I really view it as really that there'll be evolutionary and incremental improvements in trust and security and transparency. As I said, being able to have that kind of insight. So those are the two pieces where we look at where is blockchain, trust and transparency.
okay, okay, nice points added by Gary also. So, coming back to the main theme of the session, blockchain as an enabler for operational improvements. Where does blockchain fits in to actually enable the improvements in operations of an organization? Uh, Gary, maybe Gary, let's start from you. And what are your thoughts on this as well?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's really, as I said earlier, it's across the board, right? I mean, this is all about process improvement. So, I mean, if we're um, at a financial institution for smart contracts, it's literally across the board in every vertical market. It's like saying, where do we need artificial intelligence, right? There's not, it's every type of process that needs to be improved. Again, going back to the massive amounts of data, and now with the situation, as I said, with the pandemic and COVID-19, we have to look at things in an entirely different way. We need to be more secure. We need to be more faster. And so that's where blockchain really is enabled. I mean, think about it, being able to use distributed ledgers. And again, so that's where we are today. It's really across the board. And I don't know of any vertical market out there. Think about it. It's whether I'm in med tech, whether I'm in manufacturing or farming, what is it all about? It's about continual optimization. And that's where blockchain comes in.
Great. Mo, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with Gary as well. I think blockchain has the ability to disrupt every facet of of a and I'd say of every facet of a business operations and every industry as well, right? And Gary rightly pointed out that blockchain is based on two fundamental principles, right? Number one, efficiency, trust, and transparency as well. So three fundamental principles, right? Especially in financial services, where you look at decentralized finance, right? So decentralized finance is essentially providing financial services on blockchain technologies and on distributed ledgers, right? Which is essentially increasing and enhancing the scope of financial services and enhancing the scope of people that can receive these financial services, right? So you don't need a bank account. All you need is a mobile phone, right? So anybody in the world can access financial services, and everybody in the world can get their financial data recorded, right? So they can get more bank loans, for example, right? And I think another key part of blockchain technology is the ability to enhance supply chains, for example, right? To like track where to like track where the goods are coming from, especially in the food industry, to like track how the food is being manufactured, and also in medicine as well, because fake medicine is a huge problem in the developed world, right? So using blockchain technology, you can track where the medicine is coming from the manufacturer all the way to the end user, and I think generally in other aspects as well. So anything, so I believe that anything that is slow, anything that is outdated, will be disrupted by blockchain and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, Meet, I want to listen. There's one other part. So I think the real question is, where does blockchain start? So another, and like other traditional businesses, banking and finance really don't need to introduce, radical transformation to be able to adopt blockchain. So that's really where it's going to start, and it is started. And it's about, as we said, optimize the efficiency of the system. So there's a bank in Germany that completed instantaneous transaction between two of its clients in a matter of 20 seconds. But remember, cross-border transactions. Imagine if we're going to buy real estate, right, across borders. How do you do it today? Let's, again, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. Let's keep it simple. So if I'm in Kenya and I want to purchase a property in London or property in New York, how do I do a transaction very efficiently and effectively today? It's not so easy. So imagine having a blockchain enabled system. There's a company out there actually called Propi that's actually doing that for the cross-border transaction. So, the concept of blockchain is really simple. It brings considerable savings for the bank. It allows you to get rid of excessive bureaucracy. You can do the transaction much faster and improve the secrecy of the transaction security. So that's where it's really started. And this entire value, if we look at, there was a study recently by Gartner Group that said that the banking industry will derive almost $1 billion in value from the use of blockchain by 2021. 1 billion. So that's continual improvement. So let's start right where it counts. Let's start with the financial institutions. But again, as we said, it'll hit virtually every industry.
Great, great. Gary, coming back to one interesting point, as you are a pro in artificial intelligence and quantum computing, I want to ask one question, like how security will be impacted after quantum computing comes completely into the play. How will it affect blockchain technology, and what next barriers and frontiers can we achieve using using quantum computing to overcome these barriers?
So, well, let's, draw in perspective how fast a quantum computer is. So I'll take it on the low end and then we can go in the high end. But imagine a system that's 100 million times faster than a supercomputer. 100 million. So imagine being able to take a problem that needed to be solved that would take a traditional supercomputer 10,000 years and doing it in 200 seconds. 200 seconds, I mean. So imagine what it's all about. It's like if you're doing is looking at the combination of a lock, you have so many permutations and combinations that you need to come up with. But imagine having a system that can do it that quickly. Or as the Chinese have recently developed, 1 billion times faster, right? So what's happened is every single secure environment that we have today, once quantum, and I'm just writing an article in Forbes magazine, actually, as we speak, about quantum internet. But once these systems start to come out, there's going to be severe challenges. So we're going to have to do things in an entirely different way if we want to be somewhat secure. But the existing systems, security systems that are in play are all vulnerable across the board to quantum computing. It changes a game. It's a huge, huge game changer. And then Amit, imagine quantum computers working with unsupervised AI. That means it's artificial intelligence and machine learning that makes decisions for us, right? They're making their own decisions. So that's where this thing becomes quite interesting. So there's vulnerabilities. Once we hit that level, it's a difference between a Neanderthal man and or woman and being able to fly to Mars. We're talking about quantum leaps forward, and I'm not trying to be facetious, right, with the quantum leap, but literally quantum leaps forward. So that's where it becomes real interesting. And we better start thinking about it now, because if not, If the bad guys get those systems, nothing good's going to happen. Imagine being, literally every financial institution in the world, as it said, every institution in the world, but financial institutions going to be at risk.
Great. Also, Gary, uh, since quantum computers are so fast, they can calculate hundreds and hundreds of calculations per second, millions of calculations per second, which our modern computers cannot do. So basically, what kind of new security mechanism that needs to be implemented in order to actually maintain a barrier between theft using quantum computing?
Yeah, so there are new systems that are coming out that are actually using security in an entirely different way. They're actually using decentralized security. So these new systems are highly, highly quantum resistant. And those systems that are based on these decentralized approach are the ones that are going to really win this new battle, because you can't have it all in one place. You got to have it distributed, and you've got to have it encrypted in each one of those locations. It makes it extremely difficult to be able to get that information.
Gary, I have a quick question. What do you think of the North American quantum computing industry versus, for example, Russia and China? Because I know the Chinese have been making huge improvements in that area as well.
Yeah, I mean, the situation. So, I lived in Russia for a long time, almost 14 years myself. So I spent a lot of time in Russia. It's it's a matter of where the research is taking place. And I'd want to be able to verify that the things, because there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of BS out there about what people really say they do and what they really do. But in terms of this is a problem. Chinese have apparently made some leaps forward. The U.S. has made leaps forward. Russians are always highly technical, and I mean this isn't just here, right? Africa. I mean it's literally everywhere. Australia. I hear about every day. I'm on anywhere from 4 to 6 different events every day, and I hear about it everywhere now. So, in terms of who's leading the way with it, of course, Silicon Valley is really, because of Stanford University and because of the research that's being done there, and so many people from across the board. There's a lot of research is taking place. But you look at Microsoft, Google, and IBM. Each one of them are working in quantum, and every government, right, of the top, 20% are working on quantum computers today because there's some kind of strategic advantage. But we need to work together. We need to work together as a world. We got so many challenges that we need to solve. Think about it. We talk about exploring space. Yesterday, I had one of the Richard Branson's friends and one of the first founding astronaut for Virgin Galactic, and a extremely successful businessman from the UK, Per Wimmer, on my show. And think about it, just where we are in terms of space exploration. We've got 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy, and it's now estimated we have 200 trillion galaxies in the universe. I mean, we are at a verge, humanity is a verge of really doing some incredible things. At the same time, think about the challenge we have on the planet. In the last 100 years, the population of the planet Earth has increased 4 times. It's 8.1 billion today. That number by the end of this century is calculated to be roughly, instead of 8.1 billion, but 13. The amount of potable water we have, drinkable water, has decreased. We got a lot of challenges out there. We need to work together. And quantum computing, with all the data that's coming at us, is needed to be, humanity, what's going to happen is we're going to, I had a pleasure of having dinner with one of the founders of the internet, and it wasn't Al Gore. His name's Vinton Cerf. He's the chief evangelist for Google. I had dinner with him over in Russia, actually, and also in Silicon Valley, and cocktails. And, humanity, it's really like when they came up with DARPANET It's really bringing everything together. Now, quantum computers, in order to make all our lives better, is going to need to be implemented on really a global basis. We're going to need to work together like we do with the internet today, but we're going to need to do that with quantum if we want to survive as a civilization, because we got a lot of good stuff that's out there. I mean, think about the pandemic over the last year. It's the first time in 30 years we've been able to see the Himalaya mountains from India. So we understand that we can clean it up, but we've done a lot of not good things to the planet. Now we have a chance and hope to do better. And quantum computing and artificial intelligence can help us lead the way. But I got to say one caveat. We got to be very, very careful. And I've written about this directly. We need to bring some compassion, emotions in a positive way to the training sets that we're training this AI, especially with quantum computers, because we want to make sure that it's not just a pragmatic approach, because we don't want those quantum enabled computers to look at us. I mean, think about it. With the Internet of Things, everything, our refrigerator, our house, our cars, our banks, everything, electricity is controlled. We wouldn't want to have a bad quantum computer that decides that we're expendable. We want to make sure that there's some compassion built into these systems. I mean, Elon Musk is right, in terms of we got to make some definite improvements to the system so we're not looked at is from a pragmatic approach.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary, for the various points that you have raised using AI, quantum computing, what kind of necessary measures that we need to take in order to have that quantum leap forward in a positive manner. Thank you for all your points. Mo, do you want to add something here, or do you want to, shall we move forward with the closing remarks?
I think it's fine. I think Gary has perfectly summed it up in terms of quantum computers, quantum computing, and what we can potentially expect. I think what I'm looking forward to in quantum computing is how we can improve business and how we can most likely improve uh, the the livelihood of people and operational efficiencies as well.
So yeah, Gary, before we move and end this show today, I want to just
Sure.
make a few reiterate a few things here about LaToken VCTV. So LaToken VCTV is a platform where startups can come over and pitch their idea in front of their desired panel of investors. So basically, if you are a startup and you have an idea and an MVP, please come over to LaToken VCTV. We can arrange you a great set of panel members like Gary and Mo, and you can have their feedbacks taken down, jotted down, and work on them. And who knows, if all things go well, funding is just around the corners. So yeah, with this, we are moving towards the end of this session. So basically,
Um, let me say a couple words. And
yes,
I've
Gary.
had the privilege of being involved in hundreds of VCTV episodes, hundreds of them. And I do my own shows too. What VCTV has done in the last year, especially during this pandemic, I mean, in terms of wherever we're located, whether we're in Africa, whether we're in Europe, whether in Asia, the US, South America, it doesn't matter. The one thing we've had, the beauty of VCTV is being able to connect our lives together. You know, one time I said and I'm a clinical psychologist too. One of the times I said that it's really therapy for technologists, because it allowed us to be able to share ideas, to share our thoughts, to be able to move forward. When Eric actually founded Zoom 5, 6 years ago, in fact, I was one of the original users of Zoom. I remember I would send out a link and people would say to me, "Why would I use that? I have Skype." And I said, "Because this is pretty good stuff." But think about how our lives have shifted. At the beginning of the pandemic, only 30 million people were using Zoom worldwide. And now it's approaching 400 million active users every day. Zoom has become a way of life for us because now we can share ideas and thoughts. And with that, think about what VCTV has done. It's really created a platform to enable all the technologists, the startups, the investors to be able to keep life moving forward, to not stop, to bring that humanity. Although it's in some ways one dimensional, as we move forward with life, it'll become more hyper personalized, with VR and AR. So we actually feel like we're in rooms together. But it's enabled us to at least keep business going forward. In 1918, during the Spanish flu, business stopped, right? It literally stopped. And if you look at pictures from 1918, you'll see people wearing masks at football games, at baseball games, at rugby games. They were wearing masks. But what it's allowed us to do is keep business moving forward. And it's connected us. It forced us to be able to deal from a cross-border way. And that's where VCTV has really enabled it. And it's encouraging. I remember there was like one show a week, and then two shows, and then 5 shows, and now multiple times per day. It's incredible what VCTV has done. It's really revolutionized the way we are able to work together across borders.
Great. Thank you, Gary, for your closing remarks. Mov, what are your closing remarks regarding the show and operational efficiency, AI, quantum computing, anything? Mov, what points do you want to add here?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to say thank you for having me on the show like always. I wholeheartedly agree with everything that Gary has just said. VCTV has really, I think the most important thing that VCTV has done is democratize access to investors, democratize access to what investors think, democratize access to what investors really want, and provide a platform for startups and investors to interact and to really get to know each other. I think even though VC investing has gone global, there's still a lot of things that like new startups, especially startups at the earliest stages, don't know, or they are yet to find out. So I think VCTV has really improved access to and democratized VC knowledge and information and investor access as well. And I think it's a fantastic platform where you can really meet investors from all over the world and get their thoughts and opinions on different topics daily. And in regards to blockchain and AI and quantum computing in regards to operational efficiency, I would just like to summarize what I said over the past hour. I think the main point of blockchain, number one, is to improve transparency, is to improve efficiency, and I believe that blockchain can be applied to every vertical and to every aspect of the business. I think the most important thing is to ask ourselves, do we really need blockchain? And by asking yourself if you really need blockchain, like you need to take a step back and then ask yourself is, number one, will this help us make the process more efficient? Will this help us make the process faster? Or will this help us make the process more transparent, right? And I think in regards to strategies for operational efficiencies, companies should always remain digital agile and should always employ the latest software tools. And I think the most important thing is they should always hire the best people as well. So thank you. These are my closing remarks.
So great. So it was a very short show, but it was very informative as Gary and Mo has poured down their thoughts on different aspects of operational efficiency, quantum computing, and AI. So yeah, guys. So this sums up our show, and we'll meet tomorrow again with a new day and a new show. Until then, goodbye. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.